Hey guys, this is Prem from the Franklin High School Robotics team, and today I'm going to show you how to program the buttons on the VEX V5 controller for arm movement. Previously, we had programmed it for joystick controls for tank drive, and today we're going to use the buttons for arm control. Okay, so the first step we need to do is add our arm motor. So we can go here and add our device. And you can name it whatever you want. Okay, so now you might be thinking, well, we could just go back here and then we could just add the arm and then do the rest. Well, if you do try doing that and download it to the robot, you can see that it won't work. And that's because we haven't told it a lot of things. We haven't told it to stop. We haven't told it for how long to spin for. So instead, we're going to use if, and else statements. So if, and else statements. So we can think about it like this. So firstly, we need to choose what buttons we're going to use. So let's take a look at the controller, and let's use these two bumpers. Let's use the left bumper to move the arm up, and the right bumper to move the arm down. So you can see the left is button L1 and the right is button R1. So if button L1 is pressed, we want the arm to go up. Else if, or which means also, button R1, we want the arm to go down. Otherwise, if none of those things are true, we're going to need the arm to not move at all. Okay, so now let me show you how we're going to approach this. So we're going to start off with our if, else if, and else statements. So if, else if, and our else. Okay, so we can still use the same principle where we say if controller 1 dot, and this time we're going to use the buttons, so button L1, and here we can instead in robot C what we did is we had numerical values for pressed and not pressed. We had 1 was pressed and 0 was not pressed, or simply 1 is true, 0 is false. But here that's taken care of by the pressing command. So we can do dot pressing. Okay, so if button L1 is pressed, we want the arm to go up. So we can do arm dot spin, and we want it to go forward, which is going to translate to up. And now this varies from up top, because up top this placeholder would be what axis we want. But in this case we already have the button. Here we need the speed or velocity. So let's set that to 50. And that's going to be 50% of the motor's maximum velocity. And you can play around with this to find the right speed for your robot. And now finally, we want this 50 to be the percent of the motor's total the motor's total velocity. So we can do the same. We can do VEX unit velocity, or actually, sorry, velocity units, and that's going to be a percentage, so PCT, just like above. And we always end with a semicolon. And now, else if. So if button R1 is pressed, we want the arm to go down. So we can put the same as above, but this time it's going to be button R1. And pressing, we want the arm to go down. So this time we're going to do direction type as reverse. So that's REV for short. Let's make it 50 again. And that's going to be the percent. If you remember from Robot C, we remember the highest value was 127 and the lowest was negative 127. And in this case, we don't have to worry about this. In VEX C++, it's written as a percentage of the motor's total value. So we no longer have to deal with these constraints, the 127 to negative 127. It's out of 100%. And finally, we want, if none of the buttons are being pressed, we want the motor to have no movement at all. So we can use the stop command. So we can do arm.stop. And this time we're going to use the brake type command. And we want some type of stopping motion. So in VEX V5 we have 3 different types of methods of stopping. So let me describe them to you. So firstly, we have just a traditional brake. That's when the motor immediately shuts off, and there's no power supplied to it. Secondly, we have coast, and this is when the motor gradually releases power until the motor is no longer moving. And finally, we have a new type, which is new in V5, called hold. That's when the motor will hold the current position of the arm. So you no longer have to worry about your arm collapsing. And it's one of the most efficient ways for braking. As for an arm, you really shouldn't use coast because you want your arm to be precise. And braking is good, but you still run into the risk of your arm collapsing over its weight. So therefore, holding is good if your lift needs to carry a heavy load. And today we're going to use the hold command because it's the most efficient type of braking. And just like that, we have a working button system. So, sorry, this should be a lowercase. Anytime you see red, you always know that there's some type of error. So in this case, we forgot semicolon. Okay, and just like that, we have working buttons on our VEX controller. So we can now move our arm up and down. Say your arm had multiple motors, like one motor on the left side, one motor on the right side, you can always add multiple lines within these. So you could say you had like arm 2, and it would run at the same time as the arm 1. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.